Hey guys, it's me David, and today I am here in Billund, Denmark at the LEGO Global Headquarters with my colleague Lee.
Hello everybody.
And we just got back from quite an event of 2 days here at the LEGO campus where we saw a whole bunch of new LEGO stuff, some of which we can't talk about, but we can talk about LEGO Star Wars. None of the stuff we were talking about today and yesterday was under embargo, so we can talk about what has happened, and the other stuff will come out as months go by. So we're not the only LEGO YouTubers or bloggers here today, so everybody has a little bit of different information, but we, of course, are focusing on LEGO Star Wars. And no, before anybody assumes, we are here on our own dime. LEGO did not pay for us to come out here. We were invited, but we had to pay for our own flight and Airbnb and all that stuff. So with that in mind, let's get into the news and all the information that we have discovered over the last 48 hours here in Denmark. So full context, I brought Lee here. You guys may have seen him from our Jedi Temple collab. Lee has obviously been involved with a lot of my most recent builds. And yes, guys, Geonosis is coming. I've seen the comments. That is coming. Lee's not going to be. Will you help with Geonosis?
I think it would be highly unlikely that David didn't ask me to do anything for Geonosis.
Okay. Anyhow, so Lee's been a big contributor, and I was so happy that he came along with me to Billund, where he could also experience this. So full context, the LEGO Star Wars team came into a pretty big conference room. It honestly felt like I was in a college lecture hall for a quick minute there. They came in and they showed off the UCS Razor Crest, which was very exciting. And we also got to see Jens, who's the lead on LEGO Star Wars. He's like the one who oversees the whole theme. And then also Cesar, who worked on the UCS Razor Crest. And at the end, we had a chance to talk about LEGO Star Wars, whether it was the Razor Crest or other questions. And I think Lee probably asked the most significant question that actually had a surprising feedback to it. So what was that?
So basically during the Q&A session at the end of their presentation, I asked if, like in the new LEGO Ferrari, the UCS plaque, if you will, was printed. And they confirmed that in future UCS Star Wars sets, the plaques will be printed instead of that sticker that we've all come to be used to in the past 20 years of UCS sets.
Yeah, so pretty significant news that future UCS sets will have printed plaques. Obviously, the Razor Crest still has a sticker. We weren't given a context on date. I would assume the next UCS set, so like May 2023, would have a printed plaque. That could also be referring to the fall UCS set, assuming that there is a fall UCS set of next year. Again, none of that was confirmed. So yeah, we can look forward to printed UCS plaques in the future, which is pretty exciting. Definitely caught. I remember everybody was kind of caught off guard by that answer from Jens. So that was definitely interesting. So moving on to some other notable questions that was asked during that session. I asked personally, could we see TV show sets included in the Master Builder series catalog of future sets? Would TV shows be considered for Master Builder series sets is basically what I was asking. And the answer was they are open to everything, which is exciting to hear. So just like how we're getting TV show sets now for UCS sets, Master Builder series will also consider TV shows as well. So whether that's something from Kenobi and/or the Clone Wars even is a possibility, which is exciting. It was nice to hear that they're not just going to consider like movies or something for Master Builder series. So to summarize, TV show sets will be considered for the Master Builder series as well as UCS sets. Very exciting news. Yeah. So specifically on the UCS Razor Crest, I didn't have full context for this in my review, so if you guys go and watch that, I didn't really address it too much because I didn't know. But I know some of you out there were probably wondering, was it considered putting chrome pieces on the UCS Razor Crest? Because it's all light bluish gray, as we have all seen from the reveal. And I asked this question to the team, and the response I got was, I think it was considered for a second is what they said, but then was briefly just thrown out because in order for that to happen, at least 50 plus elements would have to be in chrome. And, like I theorized, I don't know if I put this out in my review, but I theorized the fact that, it's probably due to, limitations of what can be chrome to meet the expectations of LEGO's, quality standards. And that was basically the response I got is we couldn't meet the quality standards and it would also hike up the price significantly, like basically what you would assume. So it was considered, but obviously didn't happen.
More or less, that was it for day one, and now we're going to move on to day two when we actually got to interview 3 people from the LEGO Star Wars design team.
Yeah, so this whole interview will be put out here on the channel shortly, and so you guys can go and watch the full, I think it was about 30 minutes, where I addressed a lot of questions that I saw you guys say down in the comments. Hopefully, most of the things that were on your guys' mind, especially about the ATTE and Cad Bane ship and why that was like a higher price tier and less pieces. Like I go into some pretty in-depth questions with them, and we didn't get anything crazy out of that, like no confirmation or anything, but it definitely added a lot more clarity to the LEGO Star Wars Summer Wave of 2022 sets. We didn't get to talk about 23 sets, and nothing about the Winter 2023 sets were said today, which is unfortunate. So nothing about that rumored Clone Trooper Battle Pack, no news there. Hopefully it is true. I'm definitely curious still about like what that'll be, but another time apparently. But today we were focused on kind of feedback and just what fans were saying about the Summer Wave, and so I was just addressing what I'd seen from you guys in the comments.
So one thing I definitely took away from the interview more than anything else was the fact that the designers have a lot on their plate, like you might expect. They're really considering everything, and a lot of the times decisions that they make that you might think are strange are actually very well, they have a lot of evidence and a lot of reason behind them that maybe isn't clear to us as fans immediately, but when you just put a little bit of thought behind it, and definitely getting help and clarification from the designers was very helpful in understanding ourselves.
So we had quite a good diverse range of LEGO Star Wars team members to talk to, and they all had different feedback. And again, that video will be online, you guys can watch it. But to summarize what came from that, I think some of the biggest things I really want to address the ATTE. I think obviously, I told them this is probably the most, if not the most successful set of the Summer Wave. Fans have been very excited about that, and rightfully so. And talking about how praising Cody, but there's also the other factors. The holes, in the helmet. There's the double holes. I talked about that. I think they were a little confused about what I was referencing. They were like, well, the holes had to be higher in order to make it work. And I understood that.
I think I can add a little bit more of clarification towards the helmet design and why they decided to put the holes where they did. What I believe the designers were alluding to is that raising up the molded holes where it should be on the helmet to where they actually were would make the weird-looking helmet even weirder, just because the proportions of the helmet would then be grossly incorrect, because given the design and the context of the Lego helmet, which already they have to adapt to fit the minifigure, so they're already taking creative liberties there, it wouldn't line up with the rest of the helmet, and it would definitely, the way I saw it anyway, it would not have been wouldn't have been good looking if you did it that way. So the two holes where it should be was kind of like David said, a compromise, but I understand why they did that.
But I also addressed the Spider Droid. Why was a Spider Droid included in the ATTE instead of a Crab Droid? I think I threw him for.
So they didn't even, from what they said they didn't even consider doing a Crab Droid. To them, it was just, we do a Spider Droid. But when David did mention the Crab Droid, you'll see this in the interview. But they definitely were interested, and they kind of. It seemed like they didn't consider it, so they seemed interested in maybe possibly including it in a future set down the road.
We also found out about the 212th Troopers that I know there was word going out, I think it was based off like a customer service email, that the orange visor or the orange marking on top of the 212th helmet, obviously in the renders on the box, it shows the actual like tip of the arrow reaching the black line, whereas in the real print, it goes below that. And I was talking to the LEGO Star Wars graphic designer, and he told me it was intentional to put it below the line, and that won't be changed. I don't know whether it will or won't be, so there's conflicting information, but it sounds like it won't be changed, guys. So for those of you holding out, hoping that you'll get new versions from customer service, that doesn't seem to be the case, which is unfortunate because I think it is accurate to have it higher up. They told me that the reason why they couldn't do it higher up is simply due to printing limitations. So for my hardcore Clone Trooper fans out there, I did bring up the armor design and why it's being used for now realistic Clone Troopers. Obviously, we got a redesign of Clone Trooper armor with the 501st Clone Trooper set back in 2020, so 2 years ago. And that was okay because that was based off the Clone Wars armor and that made sense. And now we're also seeing it as Phase 2 Clone Troopers from Episode 3, and so it's all the same armor. And so I addressed this with the graphic designer. And by the way, there is only 2 graphic designers, one of which was at this meeting, so it was actually kind of cool to basically get someone who works on almost all the LEGO Star Wars minifigures, so it was interesting to pick his brain and see what he said. Basically, it is intentional that they are going with a hybrid armor and to make all the Clone Troopers kind of, I don't know, look the same.
Yeah, so I forget the exact word he used, but basically he said it was all about making the clones from every set be cohesive, so you can use them interchangeably and they're still going to preserve that LEGO look, so it doesn't look like they're too different. Maybe perhaps it would be a little bit confusing, but they wanted the clone troopers from the different years to kind of blend together and be used as one, as opposed to like maybe dating some of the other troopers. They wanted them all to look cohesive.
Yeah, and they even reference how, like, obviously in 2014 they had a realistic armor that they said that, yeah, in previous years we had done that, but we're steering away from that. So it seems like a permanent change that we are going to continue to see the hybrid armor. We're not going to see a redesign, it seems like, anytime soon. Again, speculation there, which is, as a hardcore clone fan, that's disappointing to hear. I would like a separation of design. So I also brought up the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader set. That has had quite a mixed response in the LEGO Star Wars community, being overpriced, I think, based off what I've seen from the comments, and I do agree, it is like probably $10 overpriced. But also just why did they go with that versus the final version? Because I'd say they look similar. They're both like rocky areas. But I'd say the final one from the series was far more iconic and more emotional to fans, and so getting that as a LEGO set would be more significant. And Lucasfilm didn't even give them any information about that, which was surprising. They basically withheld that information from LEGO. They knew there was going to be another fight scene, but they weren't given any context to it. So that is a Disney Lucasfilm thing. That isn't a LEGO thing. I do wonder if, given the opportunity, if they had, like, were giving context of both scenes, which one would they have chosen? Would they have chosen the final one? I would assume so. Again, you know, all speculation. And I also asked them, you know, in the future, would it be considered, you know, revisiting Kenobi? And of course, they said, you know, nothing's out of the realm of possibilities, but didn't confirm anything. So something also brought up is, you know, obviously we got the Kaminoan minifigure in the Obi-Wan Starfighter, and I was wondering, you know, did you guys consider putting the Kaminoan minifigure also in Cad Bane's ship, you know, the Nala Se minifigure from the Bad Batch? And apparently it was talked about, but they ultimately decided not to go through with it. And then again, I was like, well, would you make more Kaminoan characters? And they're like, yeah, it's definitely a possibility. So the final thing I quickly brought up at the very end of talking to the LEGO Star Wars team was, would they consider doing minifigure polybags again? Like the white Boba Fett minifigure, the Darth Revan, those were very exciting May 4th promos and years prior for LEGO Star Wars. And I asked, you know, would you guys consider doing that? Maybe not for May 4th, but, you know, for other promotional periods during the year for LEGO Star Wars. You know, I also referenced, you know, you guys did a great job with the Aunt Beru and that set and everything that went along with that promo earlier this year. But, you know, could we just see a standalone exclusive minifigure in a polybag? And, you know, they made it sound like, you know, they don't really control too much of that, but they have a little say in it. But the biggest thing from that was minifigure polybags, exclusive minifigures can be considered again in the future. So they're not gone forever, guys. They can return. So if there's probably enough demand from fans, you might see LEGO Star Wars exclusive minifigures or just unique minifigures and polybags in the future. So again, let LEGO know, guys, if that's something you want. They're definitely open to it again, which was exciting to hear. You know, I know that's been something on fans' mind for quite some time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check out all those other LEGO videos. Hope you guys have a great and wonderful day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.